Dior.
What's up, y'all? Welcome if you're new. Welcome back if you are a returning subscriber. This is Saving Stuff with Stephanie, where we are saving for future goals. We're cash stuffing to maintain financial discipline, all in hopes to become debt-free ASAP. And in today's video, we're going to finally go ahead and close out the month of August. Y'all, August about took me out. So let's talk about it. So if you're curious to see exactly what all took place for the month of August and want to see how we did with the numbers, stick around and stay tuned. All right, y'all, welcome back. I do have the spread open, just so I could look at it. This spread was very fun for me because of all the colors, and I always have loved back to school. When I went to school, back to school time was like fun for me because you got the opportunity to get all new things, and I've always been a stationery girl, so the pens and paper and all the things I was actually more excited about than school. But the spread, we will be finally saying goodbye to the spread. We did get all the bills paid for the month of August, so we are going to close this particular calendar spread out. So the first thing we're going to do in today's video is go ahead and close out the numbers, and then we'll go over the goals that we set for August, and then we'll do the August review. Okay, so if you are also so happy to get finished with the month of August like I am, put that in the comments. Did your August go well? Were you on the fence, or did you kind of have a trying month? Put that in the comments and let me know. So let's go ahead and go here. Hoping everybody can see that. So let's reconcile the numbers. Every month, I always budget for the same amount. I am a bi-weekly budgeter. I do get 2 paychecks normally a month. I am paid every 2 weeks. The amount that I normally budget for the month is $2,600 because I normally bring in a little over $1,300 every 2 weeks. So of course, August, we did budget for $2,600, but the actual for the month of August was $2,666. And no, I do not like that number either, but that's what we brought in. So the additional $66 did need to be allocated. And if you look at the highlight section, that lets you know where that money went. Outside of this section here, when I did my budget for Xfinity, I budgeted approximately $95 because I wasn't really sure how much it was going to be, being that we're still kind of trying out this new promotion and kind of making sure it's actually going to be the amount that they said it was. And it did. The amount I budgeted for was $95, but the actual amount of the bill for the month of August for Xfinity was $79. So there was a $16 differential, which I just left that in my bank account or my billing account to serve as a buffer. So the numbers here really didn't change per se. It's just that I didn't allocate that $16, anywhere else. I just left it in there. Okay, so the $66, where did it go? Well, as you can see, 65 of it went to car maintenance. So I did do some car maintenance, or had to pay for some things regarding car maintenance for the month of August. I did get 2 new tires. I think it was the latter part of July. And I did need to pay my credit card back for some of the monies that was not in my car maintenance folder. And then some other things that I did buy for car maintenance. So $65 of the $66 did go there. And then the other dollar just went to eating out. Initially, I budgeted $49. And I just needed really $50, so that extra dollar went here to make up for, what I needed for that. But that's pretty much it, you guys. I mean, everything else pretty much panned out. We did zero out the budget, even with the actuals, because we did make sure the money went where it was supposed to go. So, yeah, that is that. So, that was pretty quick. All right, so let's go ahead and look at the goals. Let's look at the goals, and then we will look at the review. Okay, so this page is like a little sticker dump or whatever, and it's all over the place. But I did have 3 goals for August. Goal number 1 was to save $550. And the challenges that I was working on to get that amount was the 30 envelope challenge and then my back to school savings challenge. the amount that I was able to save amongst those two challenges, including rollover money, and I did have jury duty this month, was $462. So we did not meet the goal, but the reason we didn't meet the goal is because right in the middle of the budget, I did kind of change some numbers, which is fine. I'm not upset about it or anything. But going forward, as far as the saving amount, it will be a little bit less than what we are accustomed to. But we did get kind of close. We did get kind of close, 462 and 550. But let me tell y'all what happened. Okay, this is what made August not so great for me. So I'm all excited about saving $462. Literally. Literally the day after I did my savings challenge and I saved this amount, and I'm about to plan to go ahead and, you know, change the denominations and put it in my every little bit adds up challenge, I find out that I need new rotors and new brakes for my car. And I don't know if you guys know anything about rotors and brakes, but they are not cheap. They are, you know. So I got new rotors and brakes for my car, and I also got two low beam headlight bulbs. So the 462 that I saved, 400 of that has already been allocated toward car maintenance. So I mean, I'm not upset about it. I'm disappointed because, you know, when you're saving money, you want it to grow. But one thing I can say is I'm happy that I did not have to put that amount on my credit card, because if I didn't have the money saved, then I'd be right back in credit card debt. And we don't want this. So I'm not happy that I had to use the savings, but I'm happy that I had it to save. So yeah. All right. So I can't actually check that off. But the second goal that we had for August was to get Zuri acclimated to middle school. It did start off rocky, y'all. At first, Zuri did not like it. She did not like it. We had some troubling days, some sad days, her trying to get accustomed to a new school, a new district, new everything. And it was a transition. It definitely was. But I can say she has, you know, she's doing well in her classes. She's made friends. She's getting more in the groove of being at the school. And, you know, they have lockers in the 7th grade and combination. She's never had a combination locker before. So she had to get used to that, and bells and changing classes. And they have classes upstairs and downstairs. So she, you know, it was a lot. It was very frustrating and overwhelming for her. But I think we are maybe, what, three weeks in, almost 4 weeks into school. And she has become kind of acclimated to it. Does she like it? No, she still doesn't like it. But she's coming to terms with it. And she's, I think every day is getting a little better. So I can actually check this off. But it was rocky, y'all. I was worried at first. Okay. And then the last thing, you probably can't tell because there's a lot going on, were the 5 books. I think it was 5 books that I needed to read. We needed to read Acts. We needed to read Romans, 1st and 2nd Corinthians, Galatians, and Ephesians. And I did read those. So what I'm going to do is check them off. And then we are going to go over them very briefly, because there is a lot to talk about in reference to those books. Okay? But we're just going to go over them really briefly. So as you guys can see, we are in the New Testament. I've already highlighted the books that I have already read. So where we left off basically were the 4 Gospels. We finished the 4 Gospels. And then this month I read Acts, Romans, 1st and 2nd Corinthians, Galatians, and Ephesians. Now, what I should have done, I should have researched to see in what chronological order did Paul actually write these letters. Because the way in which they present in the Bible are not the way in which he wrote the letters chronologically. I should have did that, because had I done that, I would have read them in that order. But I didn't. I didn't really think about that until I had started reading. And then I was like, oh, okay, this is not even in order. But it's okay. So let's just talk about it. So when we left off last month, we finished the 4 Gospels. You guys know Jesus Christ had been born. He had lived. He had been crucified, and he has resurrected. Basically, after his resurrection, He presented himself to several people. So a lot of people saw Jesus after he had resurrected. And then he did advise them that he is going to ascend, but he is going to allow his spirit to come back and kind of carry them through, carry them into the next coming days and allow the spirit to save the people. So that did take place. And in Acts, basically what happened was Acts goes over basically his ascension into heaven. The day of Pentecost comes, and then the first part of Acts is Peter is in Jerusalem, and he is basically focusing on the ministry. He's doing the sermon at Pentecost. He's doing miracles. They are still in opposed to like the Pharisees and the Sadducees. And then there is a martyr, the first Christian martyr, y'all, and he was gangster. And I don't know why nobody talks about Stephen. I've never heard of him. But Stephen was the first Christian martyr. Basically, y'all, Stephen was a part of the Christian groups, people that follow Christ. And he basically got up on something. And I don't know where they were at, but a lot of people were surrounded. And he was one of those people had to be aware. He was a very eloquent speaker. And he had to have spoke with so much conviction that basically all he did was tell the Pharisees and the Sadducees all of the horrible things that they did to Jesus, the Messiah. And they were so convicted and so upset with what they actually did because they knew it was true that once he finished his speech, they stoned him to death. Like, what? So I've never heard of Stephen, but I was like, why don't more people talk about this? Like, he didn't do anything wrong. He didn't, yell at anybody, hurt anybody's feelings. He just told the truth. And because he told the truth, and they did not like to hear what he had to say, they stoned him to death. But the great part about that was when I read that part, as they were stoning him or throwing stones at him to kill him, he looked up toward heaven and he saw Jesus like standing, like a standing ovation. And I know he was like, just somebody go and kill me so I can go home. I was like, wow, that is deep. That's major. So I've never heard of Stephen until I read it. But he was the first Christian martyr. And that was, I don't know, I liked it. So after Stephen was stoned to death, that's when Saul comes into play. A lot of people have heard of Saul. Saul was actually, I think Saul was a Pharisees, but he was a part of the Pharisees, Sadducees. Basically, they were the people who did not think Jesus was the Messiah. They more so looked at Moses as like, the lawmaker or the Messiah, but they didn't really think anything of Jesus. They actually thought Jesus was a fake, which is why they, didn't, anybody that was preaching anything Christ-like or anything related to Jesus, they were killing them. They were killing Christians. That was his actual job. And he did that. He killed Christians and he put Christians in jail. So as he was on his way to do this in a specific city, he was in Damascus, Jesus appeared to him and asked him basically, why was he doing this? And I guess it scared him so bad. But I mean, it did. I think he went blind and all kind of stuff. But he did a literal 180. He went from being a Christian killer to being a major part of the Bible. Paul literally wrote majority of the New Testament. So just imagine what type of interaction you have to have with Jesus that convicts you so much. Like, he dedicated his life after that interaction to bringing Gentiles to Christ. And Gentiles were basically people who were not of the nation of Israel. The Jews were the Israelites, y'all. That's who the Jews were. Judah, Jews. Remember they split the kingdoms? Right. That's who they were. I read it. Okay, so the Jews were the Israelites. The Gentiles were all the other nations outside of the Israelites. So his instruction were to bring the Gentiles into the fold with the Jews, because Jesus' entire ministry was to bring everybody together. So Paul went to all these different cities preaching the gospel, and basically the 13 letters, because that's what all of these books are. There are 13 letters to 13 churches. Well, it's not really 13 churches because some letters were written more than once, like 1st and 2nd Corinthians. It's one Corinth, but he wrote them twice. He actually wrote them more than twice, but we'll talk about that. But these were letters that he sent to churches within certain cities that he had already been to preach the gospel. So let's let's get into it. So they're called the epistles. Okay, so let's see. The first one I read was Romans. The book of Romans, of course, written by Paul, was a foundational text in the New Testament that presents a comprehensive explanation of the gospel of Jesus. So basically, it starts out with him explaining what the gospel of Jesus is. It's kind of like him teaching Christianity. Like, this was something new. He had to literally convince people that Jesus was the Messiah, so much so that they believed him, they did. So he went to all these different places teaching about Christ. And that's what each of these books are about. So he went to Rome and he went to Corinth. Now, Corinth it's interesting how this was written, because it confused me when I first read it, because the way 1st and 2nd Corinthians reads. But then I had to do a little bit of research. So Corinth is a city. Paul did have to write them more than one letter. You would think he only wrote them 2 letters. But actually, Paul wrote them 4 letters, and there are 2 letters that were not preserved. So basically, Paul stayed in Corinth for about 18 months during his second missionary journey. And then he preached, he planted the church, and he built close relationships. So he went to the city, he preached, he planted the church, they built their relationships, he left. Okay. Then Paul mentions in 1 Corinthians that he had already written them a letter telling them not to associate with sexual immorality. This letter is not presented. So this was before 1 Corinthians. He had heard that they were doing things that they shouldn't have been doing, basically. Okay. So then he went to Corinth. While in Ephesus, which is where Ephesians are from, this is the city of Ephesus. We'll hear about them shortly. He hears troubling reports about division, immorality, and questions in the Corinthian church. So then he writes 1 Corinthians to correct and instruct them, right? So then he goes to Corinth. He goes to visit them again. When he goes to visit them, they don't really respect him. They don't feel like Paul is an eloquent speaker. There are other people that have come after him that, they're kind of pitting Paul up against these other preachers. Somewhat how we be doing now, when everybody's supposed to be preaching about the same God. So why are we doing it? Right. So it hurt his feelings. Basically, it hurt his feelings. And he basically wrote them another letter. And that next letter was just a tearjerker. It was also a not preserved letter, a letter that we can't read. But the reason we know there was another letter is because in 2 Corinthians, it kind of referenced this letter. And then Paul, after he writes 2 Corinthians, which is to kind of, express, they repented for what they had done. Corinth had a lot of problems. They had a whole lot of issues. But they finally repented for what they had done. And then Paul goes to visit them after the second letter. So it's a lot, y'all. The Corinthians, they had a whole lot. Okay. So Galatians was the next one. Paul's letter to the Galatians is a passionate defense of the true gospel of Jesus Christ. He writes to the churches in Galatia because some false teachers were convincing believers they needed to follow Jewish laws and customs like circumcision in order to be accepted by God. So basically, some teachers were going and telling the people of Galatia that in order for them to actually be followers of Christ, they had to also follow the Torah, the laws of the Torah, which inflicted or said that you had to be circumcised. And these people were believing them and they were getting circumcised. Once Christ died on the cross for our sins, the Torah, I'm not going to say the Torah is null and void, because it's not null and void. It's still it's still a good staple for where everything starts. But that's not, it's an old law. It's old law. It's old law that nobody really could ever have lived up to, which is why, nobody really did. But circumcision was a part of that. And they were kind of telling them, hey, you have to do all these things in relation to how they used to teach with the Torah, which went against what Jesus stood for. So Paul kind of wrote to them to explain to them, hey, y'all don't need to be, listening to the people that's telling y'all have to be circumcised and have all these customs like it says in the Torah. We are beyond that now. So that's what Galatians was about. And then Ephesians was Paul's letter to the Ephesians. It's a rich and encouraging message about God's eternal plan for his people in Christ. Of course, it was written by Paul. It just gives you a depiction of our position in Christ and how you're supposed to live in Christ, basically. So those are the books, y'all. I'm enjoying it. I really do hate that I can't continue this, but I do have to read Psalms. So y'all know I'm reading Psalms for September. But I wish I could just finish the epistles first and then do Psalms, but it's okay. I've already dedicated September to Psalms. So we're going to take a break from the letters and we're going to read Psalms. But yeah, so far so good. I am enjoying it. But I did not know majority of the New Testament, you guys, was written by Paul. So that is it. That's it for that part of the overview. So now we're going to look at the review for August. And I did go ahead and write majority of this down. Okay. So as far as productivity goes, I would give myself, as far as productivity goes, I would say 3. I think I got a lot done, but I think I don't know. Maybe I should say 4. I did get a lot done this month. I really did. Let's just say 4. We'll give myself a 4 for productivity. Now for mood, I would give myself a 2. Because August was a sad month for me because it was a sad month for my baby. Even though my big baby's birthday was this month and we had fun on her birthday and she enjoyed her birthday. But my little one, the whole transition with school, like that was odd. Because the last time she had to like have a big move like that was when she actually started school for the first time. And that's been over 6 years ago. So this was a little difficult for me. Thankfully, it's ironing out. But as far as mood, that did kind of mess with my mood a little bit. Okay, so the main highlights of the month for me was Zuri is excelling in 7th grade. So far, she does have a all A average. So I'm happy about that. And Wheezy, I think through my reading and me talking to her and sending her videos, is starting to cultivate a more close relationship with God. And I love that. So those are the highlights. The highlights of the month for me. Okay? Things that I learned in August. Y'all, I've been dang near a mechanic to my car. But thank God for my brother-in-law. Shout out to my brother-in-law who did majority of the work on my car. Because if I had taken it to the dealership, ain't no telling how much that would have cost. But I did learn how to change my brake lights this month. And I learned how to change my headlights. It's very similar. Did not know that. But I did change the low beams, and then I changed my brake lights. So, yep. All right. The thing that I am grateful for, y'all know it is fall, and during the fall, I don't know, I'm kind of getting into the fall mood. I'm kind of liking the feel of the fall. But I've been outside, y'all. I have been outside cutting grass, and my mom we've been painting patios and decorating the porch and all the things outside. And there has been a tree that's next to my yard that's kind of hovering over the gutters that has needed to be cut down for some time now. But y'all know it takes a lot of money to get people to come and kind of cut trees and things down. So my next door neighbor had like I don't know, I don't even know the name of the tool. But my mom was outside one day and she asked him, did he have a tool or know somebody that could do it? And he told her, I'll do it for her. Like if she, if she want me to do it, I'll do it. Literally, y'all, Saturday, he came and cut down all the limbs next to that part of my house, as well as limbs that were over my mom's garden that was kind of hovering over her garden. Just helped out so much. And y'all, we tried to pay them and they wouldn't even take any money. You don't hear stories about just neighborly neighbors anymore. So to live in a community where people, when you walk outside your house, people are waving or speaking to you. We are literally like a little neighborhood. Like we all speak to each other. we all try to help each other when possible. And I love my little neighborhood, y'all. So I'm grateful to have amazing neighbors. Okay. And then the thing that I want to do better next month is I want to exceed my saving goal. For the month of September, my saving goal is $350. And you guys know I am trying so hard to get to the overall saving goal so I can get back started on paying off my debt. So this is what I'm thinking. Initially, I thought I'd be able to hit the savings goal at least by November. But being that I have made alterations to the budget and then all the things that came up with my car, I may not be able to get that goal until the end of December. So we are going to continue to focus on saving. And I think what I'm going to do, I'm just going to go hard toward paying off debt the first part of January 2026. So, I mean, I was kind of rushing, trying to hurry up and get finished with this. But I'm just going to take my time because I don't want to beat myself up about it. And I don't want to put myself on a timeline. I mean, I'm trying to save. Just save what you can. But I should be where I need to be by January 2026. So as of that time, I can go ahead and start funneling majority of that money toward my student loan debt. So we could try to get out of student loan debt before the end of the summer next year. Okay? All right, you guys, that does conclude today's video. I hope you guys enjoyed it, and I hope it was not too long. If you did make it this far in the video and you have yet to subscribe, but you enjoyed it, please hit the subscribe button, hit the like button, smash the notification bell so you're notified when I upload another video. And I will see you guys on Thursday when it is time to budget for the very first paycheck that I'll receive in September. All right. All right, y'all have a good one. Bye.